Good day, everyone. This video shall talk about the creation of a payment schedule. Um, Actually, this video series, this is the start of a video series on the payment schedule. We shall talk about the creation of a payment schedule, adding beneficiaries to the payment schedule, the approval process, and then making payments with remitter, and also some troubleshooting one can perform on the payment schedule. So for this particular video, we shall talk about the payment schedule creation. So the creation of a payment schedule cuts across two different access level. As a federal user, one can create a payment schedule, and as a state user, you can also create a payment schedule. So federal users navigating to FPCU, um, locating the payment schedule menu, with the series of states we have, one can access any of them and click on the new button to create a payment schedule. But for this video, I am going to be using um, the state access level to create a payment schedule. So on the payment schedule module, we have series of access roles that applies to the payment schedule module. We have the state finance officer, state accountant, head FPCU, and the state SPC. So the payment schedule creation starts from the state finance officer, moves to the state accountant, moves to the head FPCU, and then the state SPC is then liable to make payments. And so I'm going to assign which I have already done, assign the state finance officer access role to an account on the test servers of the PMIS. I am going to log in with that email address and proceed to create a payment schedule. So as the state finance officer, I'm navigating to SPCU payment schedule, clicking on the draft button and clicking on this new button, a payment schedule can be created. So the finance officer has access to the payment schedule in the draft state, in the pending state, in the cancelled state, and also some other additional information, which I shall talk about as we go by. So clicking on the drafts, clicking on the new button, I am going to create a payment schedule. I'm going to give it a date. And now, because I am logged in as a state from Ogun, I can't see the state field, but federal users will be able to select a state before selecting an LGA. So I'm going to choose Odeda as the local government. The word and community are optional fields. Give it a description. I shall call it video, no, PS 10th February as the description of the PS of the payment schedule. A proposed payment date, source accounts, currency is always Naira, an optional comment, then proceed to save. So at this point, the creation of the payment schedule is completed successfully. But this second stage, the second step is to add beneficiaries to the payment schedule. So even if we skip this second step, the payment schedule is still created. We can still access it from draft, and then clicking on it, open, we can still go ahead to click on this add beneficiary button here to proceed to the next step of the payment schedule process, which is adding beneficiaries. Um, Also, as this payment is in the draft state, we can only access it from the draft menu here. Clicking on pending or cancelled or any other menu, um, we will not show you the payment schedule. Then for federal users who have access to the whole payment schedule. Um, Clicking on draft shows them the payment schedule. Also, there's also a payment schedule button here that shows us the payment, all payment schedule on the PMIS, respective of the source. The My Payment Schedule button shows us payment schedule that was created by this user, so which is only accessible to those who have access to it. So I believe that completes the payment schedule creation. In the next video, I shall talk about how we can proceed to add beneficiaries to this just created payment schedule. So after creating the payment schedule, we verify the beneficiaries. You can see that we have not tied amounts to the beneficiaries. So there are two ways we can do so. We can update the amount for each beneficiaries individually by selecting on them. Let's set the amount. I can set this to 15,000. Then it updates just these two I selected. So the way I selected was by holding the control button on my keyboard, then clicking on the persons I want to update. So it highlights them. Once it has selected them, it highlights them in blue. Clicking on it again unhighlights them. Then once they are highlighted, it means you've selected them. Then you can then confirm, then it updates those two persons to 1.5. So we can see we have the first two persons as 1.5. This is still 0. But if we want to update everybody in the payment schedule at once, using this bulk update amount due allows us to update everybody in the payment schedule to whatever amount we put here. So I've set this to 20,000. So if I come back, I can see everybody has 20,000. I can also see paid beneficiaries. Unpaid beneficiaries, all of them have not been paid, and we can cancel the payment if we want to. At any point of the payment schedule, we can roll over. So what this rollover does is it clones this payment schedule. It creates a new one using the same beneficiaries we have in this payment schedule. So it saves you from having to go to the stress of creating a new payment schedule, editing, coming here to add beneficiaries, filter the beneficiaries. It just takes the exact set of beneficiaries in this payment schedule, then creates a new one and inputs those specific payment schedule into the new one. So that's what this rollover functionality does. We could attach file and make comments. That brings me to the end of the payment schedule creation on the PMIS. Thank you.